and they don't really like me. Cause I can fuck your bitch and fuck your mom and auntie.
Alright, pass CC and then let's wrap the stream up.
After 15 long years,
he talking about Skate 4?
Of the fourth EA Skate
I got to play
game,
it, so I'm interested
in
what the fuck he got to say about this.
Fortnite-modeled microtransactions.
He's shitting on it.
The EA Skate franchise entirely redefined what skateboarding games should feel like. When the very first EA Skate was announced, their promise was to be a reflection of real skateboarding culture, that raw, gritty, and rebellious nature that was highly overlooked in the mainstream. The mainstream image of skateboarding was largely shaped by the explosive success of the X Games, which debuted in 1995 and saw massive viewership by the early 2000s, with millions tuning in to watch skaters like Tony Hawk, who cemented his legacy by landing the first ever 900 at the 99 X Games. Skateboarding was transformed from an underground artistic lifestyle into a polished global sport. And I'm not demonizing the X Games, I think it was an incredibly important facet to grow interest around the world. It was undeniably sick to watch Danny Way launch himself over the Great Wall of China, or Bob Burnquist dominate vert ramps.
Bob is kicking a freestyle right now. Oh my!
But it's no secret that the corporate sponsors and TV-friendly presentation didn't represent the vast majority of skateboarders, who were skating in the streets, shredding handrails behind supermarkets, getting kicked out of parking garages, filming video parts on camcorders, and running from security guards. What added to the mainstream interest was the success of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game franchise. The fast-paced gameplay, iconic soundtracks, and exaggerated trick mechanics are literally some of my earliest childhood memories.
Still am to this day.
But the franchise
I play Rethought on PC.
Skateboarding with realism. It leaned into an arcade style.
That's like the best way to play any Tony Hawk game because it's just all of them put in on.
Defying tricks and grind on power.
Highly recommended for any Tony Hawk fan.
Over the top and undeniably addicting. The first game sold over 350,000 units in just the first 2 months in North America, shipping a staggering 3 million copies worldwide by spring of 2000. Pro Skater 2 proved how dominant the game was when it broke the world record for the best-selling extreme sports video game in history, which sold over 2 million in the USA alone. As if that wasn't insane, it was beat out the very next year by Pro Skater 3, which is still the best-selling game of the series,
Pro Skater 3 was my favorite one.
7 million copies across all consoles to date. But things started to change when MTV became interested in skateboarding. They understood it wasn't just about acrobatic tricks, but the lifestyle and the culture behind it. They were crucial in introducing the rebellious nature of skateboarding to the mainstream. Ironically, it started with Jackass, which was a show about ridiculous stunts, pranks, wrecking your body, and laughing through the pain. But it was performed by mostly skateboarders and originally intended to just be funny cutaway scenes in between gnarly skate tricks. From there, MTV greenlit shows like Viva La Bam and Robin Big, who initially represented that skating counterculture. Bam transformed his house into what looked like a Tony Hawk video game map, and Rob would skate the streets with his bodyguard Big Black, whose job was to prevent other security guards from stopping Rob's sessions. Skateboarding had such a tight grip on the culture that MTV launched a show called Scarred, which didn't show insane tricks, but rather the exact opposite. Brutal bails, broken bones, and stunts that almost always ended in a trip to the hospital.
I watched damn near everything on MTV. I don't remember.
MTV shows for the entertainment and chaos. It spoke to real skaters and aspiring skaters on a deeper level. Sure, the mega ramp is sick, but so is a backlip down a 10 stair. So is a blunt slide into the bank. Or sometimes just a flowy driveway session rips harder than massive stunts. As these shows got more popular, street skating and the culture surrounding it became more interesting and entertaining than professional skating. And while the Tony Hawk franchise tried to capitalize on
was always badass skateboarding, but I was always a fan of it.
And American Wasteland, they had the same unrealistic, gravity-defying combos, but with a new texture. Then in 2007, EA Skate was announced, a game that promised it would not only look like realistic skating, but it would feel like realistic skating.
Yeah, because at the Tony Hawk Project 8, them shit started to fall off early.
The physical feel, the feeling of actually cracking an ollie, the feeling of doing those tricks and getting that sense of mastery. As fans of the Tony Hawk series, it was time to really bring the feeling of skateboarding out.
The first trailer they released embodies just how different this game was going to be.
Yeah, Skate was that shit. Especially for the time it came out. It was fucking perfect.
You didn't need to grind on power lines above a city. Just bombing a hill or hitting an 8 stair was exciting enough. It was about hearing the realistic sound effects of the wheels sliding on the concrete. It was about feeling the freedom of cruising in an open world. From the beginning, EA marketed Skate as a real skater's game, saying just like your real first time on the board feels a bit awkward at first, but with some practice, it opens up the more you play it. What made these trailers even more impactful was that they were being posted across YouTube at a time when most game studios were still relying on magazines or TV commercials. Black Box, the game's developers, leaned into the internet's growing skate community to spread the word. I have vivid memories of searching EA Skate updates on YouTube in 2007, and every day after school watching the same few videos over and over again, just dying to play this game. I was devastated to find out that they announced it would be exclusively released on next generation consoles, which at the time was the Xbox 360 and PS3, and at that time I only had a PlayStation 2. So this was the first time that a game would be literally unavailable to me, and as much as it sucked, it kind of gave it this aura, like it was a new chapter for gaming. And it took months and months of begging, but ultimately I was able to convince my parents to buy me an Xbox 360 as well as Skate for Christmas in 2007. I still remember buying the console at Walmart, setting it up in my dad's living room, and sitting on the floor and staying up all night to play the game. Not to exaggerate, but it kind of changed my life. EA Skate actually introduced you and included real street skaters into the fabric of the story. You had P-Rod, Chris Cole, John Rattray, PJ Ladd, of course Rob Dyrdek and Big Black. They even threw in real footage of real skaters and some cutscenes to remind you just how rad these dudes actually were. But easily the most exciting new feature that Skate was introducing was their Flick It technology, which totally dismantled the button mashing style of the Tony Hawk series.
When you're playing the game, your left stick, that's your body. So you're steering left
That was pretty cool.
pulling it back to get into power.
The stick
slide,
versus the
push
buttons.
Forward, your guy will crouch. And then your right stick, that controls your board. So I'm going to pull back, crouch for a little bit to get ready for a big ollie, and then flick it forward. That's why it's called Flick It, because you do flick the stick forward. It's that simple.
Personally, I like
and
both.
Off to the side. In our
I don't
game,
mind
you
either.
Kick flip, so you actually get something.
Different
out of whatever you
experience.
do with the stick, including swinging it around to the side.
The Tony Hawk way is almost
throwing
like
forward,
putting in
wherever
fighting
much
game
force you
mechanics.
Put into it, that's what your ollie is. And you can also push forward,
Fighting game
pop off the front to get nollies and a whole combination
combos
of
and shit.
to get all the different flip tricks that are out there.
Skate also introduced
almost the same
small
shit.
details that felt realistic. You couldn't just land tricks from any height. If the gap was too high, it was impossible to land. You'd fall no matter how many times you tried if you didn't know the glitch. If you were going too fast, your board would wobble. It would be a lot harder to power slide if you were going too fast. You couldn't grind infinitely. You'd lose
It's like if you know how to do a
speed on rails and
kickflip,
curbs if
you know how to
didn't
do a
have enough
Hadoken.
momentum
Like
going
it's
into
kind of the same
trick.
shit.
You could pump your body on vert ramps to gain speed just like a rail transition skater, not needing to push your board in between ramps. It was clear that the Black Box developers had consulted real skateboarders to depict the physics as accurately as possible while still giving it a video game feel. And even though they included the X Games and Mega Park where you could hit a mega ramp and get some big air, it kinda still felt limited to something Danny Way could do in real life. The map felt like a regular city that happened to have some sick skate spots. You had clean corporate plazas, dark and dirty alleyways, brand new skate parks, and decrepit old skate parks. A perfect mix to fit whatever vibe you were feeling that day. They also added pedestrians to make it feel real and occupied, although they added an extremely annoying feature where they would just kind of mill around wherever you were skating to get in the way. There were even banned locations where if you skated them, a security guard would chase you and try to knock you off your board, which created these tense moments where the pressure was on. And overall, they had this gritty aesthetic, with a vignette over the screen and a low camera angle to mimic a cameraman following you capturing your lines. But it wasn't just the controls, physics, and aesthetic that made Skate feel like real skateboarding, it was the challenges and career mode. Instead of cartoonish missions or collecting floating letters, Skate gave you the kind of goals that mirrored an actual skater's career. A photographer from Thrasher magazine would text you and challenge you to do a trick. He would snap a photo of you completing the trick and post it on the cover of their next magazine. You'd also be challenged to film lines for a fictional skate video, and you could also edit those video clips and upload them online for other players to see. Your videographer was essentially your right-hand man throughout the game, who was hyping you up whenever you landed something sick or holding you accountable if you were messing up. There were pool jams and tight bowls. They had intense downhill death races through city streets where dodging pedestrians and carving past cars felt like something straight out of a video. And last but certainly not least, you could play an actual game of skate. For those who don't know, skate is basically the same exact thing as horse and basketball. One person sets a trick, the other has to do the exact same trick, and if you don't, you get a letter. And the game ends when you spell out S-K-A-T-E. The inclusion of the real-life version of skate was a love letter to the culture. It felt like something skaters actually do because they do, and the developers knew that. As you completed missions, you would secure sponsorship deals with real skate brands like Lakai, Girl, and Plan B. You'd earn gear from those brands and ultimately build up your respect as a skater. And even if you weren't doing challenges, you were just casually skating around, you'd visualize and map out the trick line in your head and try to land it. You had to work for it, like a real skater did. And when you finally landed the trick, you felt accomplished. You weren't just mindlessly playing a game, skate made you think like a skater. For anyone who grew up skateboarding or watching skateboard videos, the media's representation of it always felt off. But this game got it right. After its release, even EA was shocked with how well it sold. Within its first few weeks, Skate had sold hundreds of thousands of copies, outselling its direct competitor, Tony Hawk's Proving Ground, nearly 2-1. Black Box wasn't just trying to steal some market share from the Tony Hawk franchise. They were legitimately trying to create a new approach to all action sports video games. And while it wasn't a perfect game, what it did have was soul. And after it captured the hearts of fans around the world, they would absolutely shock their community with the upgrades made in the sequel, Skate 2. Skate 2 is considered by die-hard fans to be the best in the series.
Best one, yeah.
It took everything that worked in the first game and just pushed it a little further. The controls were just a little smoother, the animations were just a little more accurate, and the map was just a little bigger. But it didn't lose any of the things that made the first game so great. Well, besides the soundtrack. The second soundtrack is okay, it's good, it's solid, but the first game was too legendary to beat. The city of San Vanelona had changed after a massive earthquake, giving the map a more gritty, weathered feel. The wear and tear on your character was much more noticeable, being dirty, bloody, and bruised after skating and falling for hours. The introduction of the spillway was incredible. We would spend hours ripping through this thing at dangerous speeds. One of the most celebrated features in Skate 2 was the ability to get off your board and move objects around. I can't tell you how many times I played
the demo
Skate
a
1
lot
and just thought, man, if I could just get off my board and walk up these stairs. This was an absolute game changer. You could now drag ramps, benches, rails,
the
and
fucking
pads
Skate
into
3
position
demo
to
drop
build your
played a
own
lot of that
lines
shit,
or
and then I copied
reconfigure
the game.
iconic spots. It gave players more freedom and creativity than before, and it also helped the
I was
game
addicted to
last
skate ever
longer.
since.
If you got bored, you could start building your own spots. The career mode remained basically the same: magazine cover shoots, filming sick lines with real skaters like Eric Costin, Terry Kennedy, Jerry Hasu, but they also introduced the legendary Hall of Meat, which was a hilarious and brutal challenge mode that rewarded players for intentionally wiping out in the most painful way possible. The online mode in Skate 2 was also a massive step forward. While the first game had limited multiplayer functionality, Skate 2 fully embraced the online skating community. Players could now join free skate lobbies with up to 6 people, where they could explore the city together, hit spots, and session lines just like real life. Now you could share your skating experience, vibing and cruising through the city with friends across the world. But this was still 2008 and 2009, where most people were still not used to
They need
or
a
just
skate
overly
mod,
expecting an
like they do,
online gameplay
like they got the Tony
element.
Hawk
The
rethought
vast
approach,
majority of skate players'
pro shit.
preference was to still play alone or taking turns on the controller with friends in real life. And I really want you all to just look at, digest, remember, and feel this Skate 2 aesthetic, because after looking at all of these Skate 2 clips, the new game just looks like an absolute joke. The Skate franchise was now the standard for what a skateboarding video game should be like, and that was partially why the Tony Hawk series was starting to fall off. Skate 2 was an amazing sequel to an already amazing game, and it received strong reviews across nearly every major gaming publication. Skate 2 is technically an improvement over the first title, title, and anyone who hadn't yet played the original should skip it and go right to the second. It's a really fun game that allows you to play it the way you want with a control scheme that is
Played a little
second
bit
to
of the
none at
first one.
moment. Unfortunately, Skate 2 did not have as strong sales numbers. It didn't have
And
as
I went
explosive
right to
numbers as
2,
the first edition.
played the
They were
demo.
still
I ain't played the full
okay,
game, I
but
just
they
played the
needed to
demo.
make some big
right
changes
to
if they
3.
wanted to see financial success with Skate 3, even if it meant slightly abandoning their initial promise. If Tony Hawk Pro Skater represents totally unrealistic arcade-style skating, and Skate 1 represents more of a simulated reality, Skate 2 would be dead in the middle, and Skate 3 would be closer to Tony Hawk's arcade style.
That's
Skate
probably
3
why I played
kinda
more
did
Skate
the
3.
opposite of what made it a breakout game in the first place, and leaned further into a more arcade-style gameplay. Firstly, the aesthetic felt a lot more cartoony. Everything was a little rounder, a little softer. Your character would get dirty and bloody from falling, but it was nowhere near the grit and ruggedness of Skate 2. The new city, Port Carverton, was a stark contrast to the destroyed San Vanalona. It was cleaner, brighter, less textured, more open, and most importantly, it felt perfect. In fact, the entire lore of the city changed. In Skate 2, skating was outlawed. In Skate 3, it was encouraged. Cops were gone, security was gone, and you were now skating in a world built for you. There's even a very believable conspiracy theory that you are actually dead in Skate 3, because in the beginning of the story mode, your character has a huge bail from possibly 50 or 60 feet in the air. One that
I forgot about that
human
shit.
could not survive. But then you wake up and the rest of the game is you in heaven in the ultimate skateboard utopia. In Skate 3, the difficulty of the game dropped significantly. You could land impossible tricks way too easily, the board physics were more forgiving, and the raw tension that made the first two games so rewarding just wasn't there anymore. Riding a small 8-stair in this game was not nearly as immersive or fun. The best way to play this game was to go to the Super Ultra Mega Park or the new Spillway and send massive unrealistic tricks. The Industrial Zone was my personal favorite. The unique quarry was perfect for high speeds and big flowy sections, and this rusty old ship
this shit got
was
a
the
lot of great
closest thing
spots,
to
yo.
the gritty feel of the previous games. Now they did introduce different difficulties. You had easy, normal, and hardcore, but I always felt that hardcore mode didn't make the game look and feel more realistic, it just made everything harder to do for the sake of making it harder. It felt like EA was trying to widen the appeal for Skate 3, making it more fun for casual players that enjoyed the Tony Hawk style games, which is why challenges like Hall of Meat significantly ramped up. Now you could get to much higher locations and the falls were much more brutal. You would get a score based on how many bones you broke, how far you fell, and how much damage you took, and they included these sort of emotes that allowed for more unique falls. Also, highlighting exactly what bones you broke in red was a really nice touch. Even though this was the furthest thing from realistic, everyone agrees Hall of Meat was a hilarious aspect that made that game addicting. And even though Skate 3 was now the furthest thing from realistic, it still had the spirit of skate culture. Once again, real skaters, and everyone's new favorite fictional character, Coach Frank, who was your
Frank was a
chaotic and
goat.
silly skate coach teaching you how to live up to your full potential. The story mode was about building a skate brand. You started as an underground skater with one goal: sell 1 million boards. That premise alone is a perfect metaphor that skateboarding often starts as an independent pursuit, but slowly transforms into something more corporate. You built a team, picked real sponsors, and grew your squad from local to mainstream. And even though Skate 2 is for more of the purists, I loved Skate 3, and even with the arcade-style gameplay, it still had
Yeah, I
enough
can understand the
respect and
hate
inclusion of real skate culture
from
to be the
Skate 2
perfect
lovers to
successor
3,
of the
but
series. And this was during the
hey, I
era
love
when
3.
YouTube was
I
starting
ain't
to
gonna lie
become
to
the
you.
center of gaming culture. Blackbox saw this and capitalized hard. They implemented a new skate reel replay video editor, which was basically perfect. You could do all these different camera angles, edit them with music and effects, and then just upload them straight to EA servers or share them online. They also added an object dropper functionality so you could spawn ramps, rails, and props mid-session, basically making the entire map customizable. YouTubers like PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye started posting Skate 3 content and gaining millions of views. Skate 3 performed better commercially than Skate 2, selling over 2.6 million copies and became the highest selling game in the franchise franchise, thanks in part to its growing online community. And after Skate 3,
Still till
the
this
fan
day.
base was desperately awaiting
Still
the
to this day,
announcement
the
of
Skate
4.
3
Every
community
E3,
specifically
every
is
EA
deep as
Play
shit.
event, Skate fans tuned in hoping for even a mention, but got nothing. 2011, 2012, 2013 went by, and EA didn't even deny Skate 4, they just remained silent. But little did we know, Electronic Arts was making some drastic business changes behind the scenes. In 2012, they announced that EA in Vancouver is transforming its studio to align with EA's transformation to high-growth digital formats, including online, social gaming, and free-to-play. Although Skate 3 sold an okay amount of copies, it was mere pennies compared to their FIFA series. For example, FIFA 12, which released in the same year Skate 3 peaked in popularity, sold over 8 million copies in just 4 weeks. But more importantly, FIFA had Ultimate Team and in-game purchases. In fact, by 2015, EA was earning over $1.3 billion.
And that's what
per
they about to
year
turn
from Ultimate Team
Skate into.
microtransactions alone across FIFA, Madden, and NHL. Everything EA touched
After I
started
played
to
the
feel
alpha
like it
and
was
shit, I
solely
can definitely
designed
see
for
that.
cash instead of adding new value
They
to
about
their
to EA is
respective
about to
games'
turn
games.
Skate into FIFA.
Simply put, Skate just did not fit into EA's new business model. They had a massive round of layoffs in 2013. They closed PopCap Vancouver and Quicklime Games, a studio comprised of former EA Black Box employees that developed Skate. However, what EA didn't realize at the time was that Skate 3 was far from dead. In fact, over the next decade, it would become more popular than ever, largely thanks to
That
YouTubers
shit
like
deep,
Zexy
yo.
Zek, who essentially rebranded Skate 3 from a kinda sorta realistic skateboarding simulator into a straight up sandbox playground for ragdoll physics, massive jumps, and pushing the limits of the game that the developers couldn't have even imagined. Even non-Skate fans were watching these videos because it sorta Mr. Beastified the game. I would watch these videos
like real
because they
shit.
accomplished things that firstly I could never even imagine.
Skate
and
still
even if I
goes
could,
crazy.
they were so over the top that I would never spend the time or
Specifically
effort trying
3.
to do them while playing the game myself. However, in 2014, nearly 4 years after its release, Skate 3 was reprinted and restocked due to its popularity on YouTube. By 2016, it had sold more copies post-launch than it did in its first year. And because of this, rumors persisted that EA would make Skate 4. I mean, clearly the demand was there, right? But they finally confirmed 7 years later in 2017 that they were not actively developing Skate 4. So the fandom
Which was a
gave
lie.
up, and they just appreciated the trilogy for what it was. But then, independent studios started investing in the action sports genre. Games like Pipe and Skater XL popped up on Steam, providing a simple, realistic action sports simulator. Skater XL actually challenged the original Skate's realism, where now you had to use
Skater
both
XL is
joysticks
alright.
to control the board. This game was much harder to learn, but much more realistic. And suddenly, there was a resurgence in demand. And in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, in a time where misery persisted online, nobody believed what they heard at this EA Play event.
The moment is here. We finally get to say,
We're back! We're doing it! Skate's happening. We're rolling. We've secretly got together. It's the beginning. The skate evolution continues.
we've been waiting years, honestly, to make the right game at the right time with the right idea, and really, really pleased to say that we're here. It is really early.
Still, we've got a long way to go, but we're stoked, and this is just the beginning.
And seriously, we really can't wait to bring you guys in and have you be a part of it with us.
We want to thank you for your passion, your patience, and all the support that you've shown, us to get to this
Oh,
point.
the comments.
It's amazing. We cannot believe you commented this into existence. Amazing. Skate changed my life. Thank you so much. Skate forever.
There was no gameplay shown, but that didn't matter. For the community, it was the realization that after 10 years, the Skate franchise was finally back. And even more exciting, Cuz Perry, the lead creative developer of the first 3 games, was also returning to produce Skate 4. His involvement gave fans hope that this game would hit just as hard as the trilogy. The news was almost unbelievable, especially considering there were no updates for a full year after the initial announcement, until an official Skate YouTube channel uploaded a video titled "We're Working on It."
Truth is, it's early. We're still working on it.
You're joking. Has anyone seen gameplay?
Well, a couple people have seen it.
What people?
It's about time.
They've seen it?
It just looks beautiful. This whole
Playing
open
online
world.
sessions like that
Picking up the
would be
board
so
and looking
funny.
back much
Reminds me of Skate 2.
Oh, cool, you're listening to the fans.
And those two sound bites in there were key. A guy saying, "It reminds me of Skate 2."
That's a
and
lie.
"Cool, you're listening to the fans." We didn't know it yet, but those were so far from the truth.
I'm
After
telling you
another
right
long
now,
year with
that
no
shit is a
update,
lie.
a video called "Still Working on It" dropped that featured the first official gameplay, proving that this thing was real. In the bottom corner, they reminded everyone that this was pre-alpha, which explains the absence of textures and
It's
buildings.
still in alpha
And
now.
again, in this video, they were reminding everyone that they are
Because when I go
creating
back
what the
and play it
fans
still, I
wanted.
still got this shit on my Xbox. You can still, a lot of the shit
With
is
a
not
community
done.
as passionate as Skates, it seemed like a no-brainer for the developers to treat their core fans as a massive free survey pool to help
But I
guide
feel
them
like-
in building the best game possible.
I don't think
And
it's gonna
can't
do what they
express
think it's gonna
enough
do.
That they made it clear that
I'm gonna be honest.
transparency was at the forefront of this game's development. Skate released a show on their YouTube called The Boardroom, a developer sit-down where they discussed the game's progress and directly addressed community feedback. The series ran for 5 episodes, alongside other content the team was regularly putting out. They read comments and provided answers to the community. It was this type of communication with fans that is almost never seen in the development of other
I
games.
feel like if you are a long-time Skate fan and you are waiting for this, prepare to be disappointed. At the most, underwhelmed.
So that's why the next Skate game would be a free-to-play title available to gamers around the world.
However,
And I'm not gonna lie,
as
that
fans
shit
got
being
more
a free-to-play
information from the
game, that
developers,
should have told
the
you
more
something right there.
skeptical they became. I think everyone trusts Full Circle, but nobody trusts EA.
Yeah.
Free-to-play is kind of scary.
That should have told you something right there. EA and free-to-play don't even sound right. It's
It was also
you
in
know
this
they on some
video that
bullshit.
They made a very important distinction. This game is not the 4th edition of the franchise.
Okay, throw the bottles and everything at me now. No, it's not Skate 4. And here's the reason. This isn't a sequel. It's not a remake. It's not a reboot, a prequel. It's not any of that. It's not a remake, a remaster, whatever Re can do. This is it. It's Skate. We're in it for the long haul. That means we're not an iterative title. There won't be a Skate 5 through 10. We won't be pumping them out all the time. We're going to do this.
It's a
We're gonna
reboot.
Listen to what you guys say over the course of time and put the features that you guys want into it.
He basically said
they're
all
saying
that
this
shit
is
is
an
over. This
entirely
is
new
it.
game, not a continuation of the original franchise. While that might be true from a developmental standpoint, it also kind of felt like a slimy strategic move. By avoiding the Skate 4 label, they gave themselves more cushion against backlash. If the game didn't live up to expectations, they could always fall back on, well, this was never meant to be Skate 4, because it was evident that they were capitalizing on the fandom of the original, using similar branding, a similar map, similar playstyle, comparing to previous games, but ultimately dismissing anyone who says this was Skate 4.
For the love of God, just call the game Skate 4, not Skate, for the second time.
No, sorry, the game is just Skate, it's not Skate 4.
Yep. Please tell me Skate 4 is coming to PS4. Skate 4 is not.
Skate 4 is not coming to PS4, but Skate will be.
In 2022, they released a bunch of updates and playtest videos. You could feel the game getting closer and closer to looking complete, but it wasn't necessarily matching with the core fans' vision. As the devs read more comments and responded to fans, it became extremely clear that they were cherry-picking non-critical or super niche comments to give the illusion of transparency while ignoring the major concerns from the players. Like how nearly all the top comments are about wanting an offline mode and story mode.
You're not
which is
getting none of
never
this shit.
addressed. But in the video, you get random, pointless questions answered.
Do you guys even play?
From the shit I played, I'm telling you now, you're not getting none of that shit.
So, yes.
Skate has been officially announced to release in 2025, and EA has provided a number of YouTubers with sponsored early access to the playtest, and fans are extremely disappointed with what they see. Right off the bat, the most noticeable is the art style. Skate 3 was already cartoonish,
this
but
is the
Skate
shit.
has absolutely zero grit. Everything is clean, pristine, and sometimes ramps are just these bright, unnatural
This
colors.
is the alphas
It
that they sent
literally
us.
looks like Fortnite on skateboards. Now, that might not be a deal breaker if everything else felt authentic, but that's not the case. So far, we have no confirmation on whether or not there will be a story mode, which means no progression system. You just exist in a giant open world map with other players and just skate around doing challenges with no actual goal.
Time to rip.
The alpha is pretty fucking boring. That's why I don't really play it all that much. I get on for like less than 10 minutes just to see if they updated it, just to see if they changed anything.
to grind, but slow enough to lock it in. Know the ledge. Nice. Those skater eyes are working. Skater eyes employed. Bench grinding verified.
Getting sponsored, taking photos for magazines, filming video parts, that's all gone. The first question they ask the players during the playtest is, how interested would you say you are in skateboard culture? I find myself wondering what they will use this data to interpret. The hopeful side of me says that a lot of people will click, yes, I'm very interested, and then they will include some actual skate culture into the game, but the realist in me says most people will probably say that they're not interested, and they'll continue to make this children's game, because there is really no skateboard culture in this game at all. There are no professional skaters involved that gave skate its connection to real skateboarding fans. There are no death races, another classic fan favorite mode. There's no custom parks, which is what let the community thrive for so long after Skate 3. But the biggest slap in the face is that you can't even play a game of Skate. How are you gonna have a video game called Skate and you can't even play the game that has been a foundational part of the culture for decades? Your cameraman is actually just the camera that's been Pixar.
Yeah, anything you was hoping for in this shit, bro, I'm telling you now, it's just
Your very own board.
no, it's not happening.
All of the skateboarding lingo has been removed. Whenever you complete a challenge, the narrator will say things like skater eyes deployed and bench grinding verified. It's all cute and quirky soft language so the kiddos can enjoy it while they rack up mom's credit card bill buying skins for their favorite skater. Which, by the way, if you want to buy a skate deck, a t-shirt, shoes, we're not talking about
so
50 cents or $1 a piece. These
even
items
in the
cost
alpha, dog.
$5 each. Basically, if you wanted to fully customize your skater,
Even in the alpha, dog, that shit expensive.
It'll cost you the same price as the entire Skate 3 game, which previously all customization was unlockable through the game's progression. Some other features that are absolutely detrimental are the always online mode.
Yep.
It means no more peaceful solo sessions, skating alone just a vibe. You're forced into a server every single time you load up. If your internet connection is down, well,
you're not playing that
it's
shit then.
extremely clear that this game was built for YouTube content creators and the kids who grew up watching them. The developers know that their young demographic holds Skate 3 as the crown jewel of the series, and the videos they watched growing up showed creators pushing the game to its absolute limits. Speed glitches, massive unnatural gaps, and Mr. Beast-like challenges. This new game was built entirely around that appeal because, well, they probably don't care about skate culture. Ironically, the YouTubers who want more high-flying stunts for content are going to have to film their videos surrounded by 100 other online players getting in their way. Each of the 3 games in the series start off with you completing a simple ollie, kickflip, or small stair set, similar to how any other real skater would start their journey. The first thing they make you do in this game is parkour scale the side of a building and then jump a massive mega ramp. The only people defending this game are children who grew up in this free-to-play model. The ones who don't remember a time when you could play a video game and not be constantly asked
Yeah, I
to
got
buy
the fucking
more.
alpha early.
This game is for the kids
and I
who-
couldn't talk about it much because you're not like allowed to, because you get your account banned and shit. But I see a lot more people starting to talk about it, and I'm seeing a lot of negativity about it. And now that Pat CC made a video about it, shit, it's pretty much up now. Yeah, the game is not. It's not great. It's not great. If you was hoping for a good skate game, a skate savior, this ain't it. I'm gonna be honest with you.
thought skating as a piece of raw meat in Skate 3 was the coolest part of the game. And I know I'm coming across as harsh, but I'm not blaming them. They don't know any different. But when they play this game for 3 to 4 months and get bored and wonder why a game that had 15 years of hype died in a few months, rewatch this video and you'll see why. Then again, if you do just change your mindset a little bit and just accept that this isn't a true Skate successor and it's more of a acrobatic parkour game with a little bit of skateboard mixed in, I can even live with that. And it actually looks like it could be pretty fun for a bit, almost like a mobile game you play for an hour every once in a while. But the free-to-play model is something that literally every video game fan should be against.
Yeah, it might be fun for just a little bit until they
we all
like
understand that a company needs to make money.
until they be like, yeah, how
buying
about you pull out your
something
credit
should
card.
mean
Had some
that
real
you
fun.
own it. And if it's free,
How about
you
that?
don't own the game. Once they decide to shut down the game's servers, you will never be able to play it again. Plus, I find it telling that even though this game is in its beta release, the only thing that is fully functional is the microtransaction store.
Yep.
In case I haven't been explicitly clear, this game is not a love letter to the Skate franchise.
It's not even beta,
or
it's
skate
alpha.
culture.
And they
This
made
is a
sure that
massive
fucking store worked,
corporation
though.
using the diehard
They made
skate
sure you could
fan
spend
base
money
as a
and
vehicle to sell
Nah,
digital
make sure everything else
cosmetics.
worked.
The free-to-play model,
They make sure you can spend money,
has
though.
taken over gaming. It sounds good on the surface, but it mostly just ends with studios releasing incomplete games or good enough games because in order to justify a $40, $50, $60, or $70 purchase price like they used to, they would have to actually make a game with depth. Making AAA games is insanely expensive. When a studio charges a one-time entry fee, there's a cap on how much money they can realistically make. Even if the game sells millions of copies, that fixed price can only earn so much money. But if they release the game as free to play, they won't make money up front, but way more people will try the game out, and they've essentially opened the doors to an uncapped year-over-year revenue stream by people buying it in their shitty little shitty fucking store. Studies show that more than 50%
He had to get
of
that hate
revenue
off
for
real quick.
many major game publishers now comes from microtransactions. Games like Asphalt 9 have transformed into entirely ad-fueled casinos, where progress is deliberately slowed to nudge players towards spending real money. Even worse, the microtransaction model discourages innovation. Instead of building great games from the ground up that will last a lifetime, publishers focus on maximizing engagement, extracting more time and money from players through cosmetic items and pay-to-win features. You don't need to sell a complete game anymore, you just need to keep players hooked long enough to open their wallets. So for Skate, yeah, they might add real skaters in there, but you have to purchase them as a skin. There might be sick new maps that mimic realistic skate spots for purchase. I wouldn't be surprised if they made in-game challenges or competitions that you have to buy into or wager just to play in hopes of winning more whatever dumb currency they have. And you might think that you have the willpower to avoid these transactions, but statistically speaking, most people will ultimately cave and make a purchase. 82% of gamers made at least one microtransaction purchase in 2023. If you've spent dozens of hours playing a game, mastering its mechanics, and progressing through its challenges, then the developers are counting on you being more willing to part with a few dollars here or there to enhance the experience. This could mean buying a fancy outfit for your character, paying to unlock a new arena, or even purchasing in-game currency to just speed up the progress. The sunk cost fallacy can kick in here. You've already invested so much time, it seems foolish not to spend a little more to get the most out of your time investment. The only problem is, you aren't actually buying something of real value, and you also don't actually own it. Skate is not here to honor skateboarding.
2K niggas
it's
better
here
wake
to
up.
monetize it. Skate is not being revived because EA cares about skateboarding culture. It's being revived because they know you'll pay $5 to put a Santa hat on your skater. And when you get bored after playing it for a few months and you're wondering why you feel no desire to pick up the controller and get back on, you'll finally understand why people played Skate 1, 2, and 3 for over a decade. Because these games
Yeah, I'll probably
had
just go back to the
soul,
old
and they
skates
were
like I've
made
been
to
doing.
resemble and honor a culture that has been around for
I'll probably give
decades
Skate
and will
1 and 2
last
the
for
proper
decades
chance that I
to
never
come.
really did
This
back then
isn't the
because
future of
3 was
gaming,
so
it's the
addicting.
funeral. And as a grown man, I
But
don't have time to be mad.
There's a
I'm
new
just
shit.
disappointed.
Telling you now, you ain't gonna like it. y'all not gonna like it. But anyway, that'll be stream.